you very much, Veli, and it's a pleasure to be back once again for another stage here at the NAL. And what a match to get things started for the two of us as well. Seeing the Soniqs, who came in with a barnstorming performance inside of Stage 1, go up against SSG, who obviously have had their own storyline as of late, not with too much success, unfortunately, but in recent times bringing hot and cold into the roster. That is certainly a lot of news to talk about. Isn't that right, Stokes?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that you put this package together very nicely, John, so I'm going to thank you for that. But, I mean, this SSG roster, I'm so very excited to see Hot and Cold finally get some action with these guys. He looked dynamite on Mirage, and now coming into an SSG that was missing their heartbeat, could possibly have someone that could fill those shoes.
I think it's going to be interesting to see the way that this map ended up playing out as well. Consulate, I think, is going to be an amazing test for both of these teams. For the Soniqs, obviously, not having played on it, I don't believe, in the previous stage, but for the most part, banning it out themselves when they had the choice in the matter. So they're going to be bringing it into the pool, or excuse me, having opponents banning it out, meaning that there is something there to be feared. It's going to be interesting to see what that is without any recent play for them on this map. Now, at the same time, you've got something similar coming in for Spacestation, but it was they who have been choosing to ban the map out more consistently themselves, leaving that one as more of a question mark. Obviously, with Hot and Cold coming onto the roster, we can expect some new things certainly to be brought out, but to what degree we will see that and to what degree it'll be prepared here today, that's what we don't know as of yet, and that's what makes this match so interesting as we get ready to head into another best of one here in just a few moments.
Yeah, it is a very large question mark as to what's going to happen to Consulate. As you were saying, with SSG especially, they've banned this 16 times in recent history, and that's quite a large number when it comes to map bans. Traditionally, when we see somebody not really enjoy a map, maybe around 10, but 16 is definitely something to point out. That's like Empire numbers on Old Villa. But anyways, SSG now with this, resurged roster, looking to try and switch things up against the Soniqs. I like this coming in, but I think the analyst desk is quite wary about what SSG's potential is as of right now with Hot and Cold coming in. They were talking about a lot of roster moves going on. We had some, some quotes from Lycan as well about what was going to be happening with this roster. So I think that there's still a slight edge here for the Soniqs, but truthfully, anything could happen with SSG is we really just don't know what their Consulate looks like or what this roster, has to tell us.
I would agree entirely with that analysis. And moving on to talk a little bit more about the individual players inside of this match, we'll start things off with our community poll question. Both of these players were in the running for the MVP during the last stage. Will they be able to keep up with the competition with Stage 2 starting out today? Grixer and Hot and Cold, be sure to let us know which of those two players you think is going to perform better in this matchup on one of our community platforms, whether it be in the Twitch chat, over on our Twitter at R6esportsNA. Feel free to let us know, and Veli will be discussing the results with the rest of the analysis desk after this game is concluded.
That's quite the good one as well. I mean, Grixer making a lot of noise inside of Stage 1, has the possibility to, have those followers on Twitter come in, actually try and take a fight to SSG. But that's the thing. It's SSG on social media up against Hot and Cold. So, in that regard, I think SSG's got Soniqs. But when it comes down to who wins the game, I think that's a different story.
Yeah, I mean, not even discounting the fact that Grixer, of course, had those amazing plays. He's not the only one that's been contributing to the individual performance side of things on the Sonic side as well. Kansan, Rexon as well, all having a fantastic stage during Stage 1 of this year, so you can expect some great performances to be coming out from really the rest of this roster as well. And the same can be said for SSG, for the few people out there who may not be aware of this team. Like the analysis desk was talking about, this is a team of 4 world champions, aside from Hot and Cold, who's recently joined up on the squad, and there is a lot of individual skill that comes along with that title. That's not for nothing, of course.
Yeah, when it comes to players inside of North America right now, I honestly do believe Hot and Cold is at the top of the heap. He has the most amount of talent as of right now for veterans. I mean, the guy is just absolutely elite. When it comes down to it, what I'm trying to get at is this guy has been top 4 since year 1 of North America. He's been a part of the top 4 rosters throughout his entire career, which is just absolutely insane. So when you're getting someone to fill the most successful North American player's shoes, who else are you going to look for besides the guy that was one of the best players inside of Stage 1 with that track record? I mean, I don't think you could go to any other person inside of North America. But John, we have delayed long enough. Our fill is over. And finally, folks, the casters can hit the start button. Soniqs versus SSG. It's on the docket, and it starts now. Let's get right into it.
Let's get it going, folks, and to just continue that discussion on Hot and real quick, yeah, to round the point up, he's really seemed to have proven himself to become almost the golden goose of North America over these past few months, and I think that this stage is going to be a very good test of that now that he's transitioning to yet another new squad within a very short period of time. And this one obviously kind of topping the cake since at least the time on Dark Zero. So let's take a look and see what the bans are going to be looking at. Nomad knockout first, followed by an interesting one as SSG are going to choose to take out Thermite as their second ban.
So yeah, quite an interesting hard breach ban coming in. Obviously, Thermite has a slight disparage in between him and the rest of the hard breachers. He is now the only hard breach with smoke grenades, so it could be something that SSG is looking into. The Mute ban going to come in as well. Mute used to be such a potent operator on Consulate, still is, especially on those raised surfaces where you can actually mute drones and everything else, but he's just kind of a nuisance when it comes down to a lot of things, especially when it comes to being paired with Mozzie.
Fans are going to roll through pretty quickly. We get another interesting one there with the Mute Jammer is getting removed from the pool. Mira, though, aligning pretty well with what we have seen in the past, even with those recent changes coming into her overall kit on gameplay mechanics. We'll explain more about that, though, when she pops up, hopefully in a later match, assuming she hasn't already done so. First, site defenses. Obviously, the Soniqs are going to be getting that honor here at the beginning of the match. We'll be heading towards the basement, and we'll see what kind of operator lineup they're going to bring. Immediately, a little switch there from Bosco, as well as the Lion is brought in. Let's take a look and see if they're going to stick with that or if it'll get sixed out here in a moment. It does appear as though they're going to keep with it.
I think that something's going wrong with your mic, my friend, so I'm going to cover here for just a little bit. But yeah, quite a few interesting things happening off rip here for Garage defense. Valkyrie being left up, that's a really big thing. She's actually quite influential when it comes to Consulate, quite a few spots, especially outside. But there's some interesting ones inside as well that Rexen will more than likely abuse. You can fit him inside of the cars, white van, bunch of different places. So we'll have to see what he can do with that. But as for the Soniqs, quite a straightforward defensive setup here. So looks like well, actually, possible rehost coming in here, folks. We'll have to see what's going on with that. But either way, this defense, fairly straightforward. I mean, they're still going to stick with the Mozzie. They're not going to stick along with the Vigil, but obviously the delay not going to be the best. So, yep, that is going to be a confirmed rehost here, folks. So, looks like you guys are going to be coming back to us, and, well, we'll have to have a little bit of a chit-chat longer. I don't necessarily know if John is back yet either, but still plenty of talking points in between these two. And actually, luckily enough, I have John, so I no longer have to fill. So that's a good thing. How you doing, my friend? You're back.
Fairly certain that my stuff is fixed. I believe I was leaking my audio, like my desktop audio, through to the stream. So apologies for that, folks. That was my fault. And I apologize for any issues that occurred there. But that should be fixed when we head back into game. But yeah, obviously a new patch means new bugs occasionally are going to pop up. So a little bit bumpy today, but we'll work to get this game restarted as quickly as possible and get things back into shape there. Obviously, I didn't get to catch too much from that opening round, or at least the bit of action that we did get to see, because I was trying to fix that small issue. But yeah, once again, to talk more on the pregame here, I think we've got a very, very interesting match lineup between these two teams. Really can't wait to dive deeper into it here once this issue is resolved, and obviously things are much more back to normal.
Yeah, that's going to be the difficult thing as of right now. We have plenty of things to talk about for prep and all that kind of stuff, but as for actually what's going to be going on in this match, we truthfully have no idea, guys. We haven't seen Consulate between these two in forever. I mean, they haven't played it in forever. SSG's doing a bunch of new stuff for their roster, so just bear with us while they end up fixing these things. But so for the Soniqs, especially looking back at back to stage one, they come in with this new refurbished roster, some of the United members coming in, and they end up getting second place. Oxygen obviously taking first. They don't make any roster changes at all, so that more than likely means that this team is going to come out the gate swinging. John, how are you feeling about these guys personally?
Which team is this? Are we talking about Soniqs or SSG? Yeah, I mean, from the Soniqs, I expect really nothing to be pulled back. Like, they had a couple of bumpy games towards the end of stage one, but they really weren't anything to write home about. They were still very close. And to be fair, if you look back earlier, that a lot of their victories were also close as well. But it comes down to the way they play their rounds on an individual basis, and they were really kind of unmatched when compared to a lot of the other teams back in stage one. And I don't really expect that to change. I do think that teams will be more experienced when it comes to dealing with them, so we may see less success across the board due to that factor if they're not able to change things up going into this new stage here. However, I still feel like we're going to get a very, very strong performance out of them overall, unless there's a major titanic shift in their overall performance here in the first couple games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Soniqs, although the matches were very close, were very, very good. And I think that that's just something that is Honestly, just textbook Soniqs. It doesn't seem like, they're ever at a disadvantage going into OT or anything like that. Like, just to remind you, the month of April this year, they were electric across the entire month. They actually only ended up losing to Mirage at the tail end 2-7, but they won every single match inside of April besides that one. So, quite the run there for them, and hopefully that signals a strong start to Stage 2. But looks like we're going to have a couple of issues, guys, and you guys will be coming back to us once again. But either way, I mean, honestly, it's good with me, man. We can sit here and make this a podcast. I'm fine with that, John. I got stuff for days. You want to talk about the quote that Lycan said to SSG, or excuse me, to CGG, guys? We'll talk about that for a second. Might as well. So CGG luckily got to talk to Lycan for a little bit, and he actually left us with this quote. And John, I want to see what you have to think about it, because it's about the roster move and basically what they're going to be doing with the future. So this is regarding Hot and Cold. And he said, Hot and Cold has been an active part of the top 4 of NA since the end of year 1, and he was instantly one of our main contenders for what we considered our top 5. We're extremely excited to show you guys all the role changes that will be coming with the arrival of Hot and Cold.SSG, but I want you to see them for yourselves. It'd be amazing to just click right away, but I just think we would be living in a dream world if we assumed that would happen.
Yeah, I think honestly that's a very like realistic take on how these first couple weeks are probably going to go from SSG, unless they hit this like immediate honeymoon phase with Hot and Cold, which for SSG, I don't necessarily expect that to happen, although it is a possibility. And let me explain why. SSG is a much more complicated team when it comes to their inner workings than some of the others. Very structured, very much like going down a checklist of how things work on an inter-round basis. So considering that a lot of that is now going to have to be restructured, possibly like at its core with Hot and Cold coming in, I'll be honest, there's a very good possibility that these first couple games could be a little rough for SSG if that doesn't immediately click. But I do think ultimately over time we should see a very, very, very strong core package coming out of all 5 of these players combined when they've had, in their opinion, obviously, an adequate enough time to really bring that all together across their full map pool. That's a big part of this as well. Is I think it's going to extend only to certain maps at first, and we'll start to see things click more and more in a deeper pool as they've had more time with him. It's definitely going to be a thing where I'm personally not expecting immediate results, but I am expecting them over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very, very good take. And on top of that, I think that the biggest thing here that could possibly like put the bridge across from esports and just try and show an example of what is happening to SSG right now. This is like when you lose your mainstay quarterback for your team. The coach has to start working with someone brand new. They have to formulate new packages. They have to do a bunch of different things with this QB because he's not the former QB. Maybe this guy's faster. Maybe he throws longer. Maybe he doesn't do the same thing that the guy did before. There's a lot of different things that go into making a team work and be successful. Now, luckily enough, SSG not only has the roster to do it, but they have the coaching staff to do it. And what a better person to do it rather than Lycan, who brought North America their first hammer in recent history with Canadian. So, it just bodes well for SSG and their future. But I'm excited to see if, possibly SSG can get that third hammer for NA.
Yeah, I'm hopeful as well. I don't know so much about that third hammer.
Hey, you never know, man. We said that the last time with Canadian, remember? Everyone was like, oh, Canadian to SSG, come on, guys, nothing will happen. And then look at that, North America won stuff. You can't stop us now, esports world. We won an FPS title.
A little optimistic, but we'll see how that all pans out.
Very optimistic.
When we get to the middle of next year. Either way, I'm big fingers crossed on this sentence here.
Rub your rabbit's foot or something.
We are good to go. I don't want to jinx it.
Don't say words. Casters' curses do exist, and we probably shouldn't even have mentioned that. So the good news is Soniqs going to be holding all the way downstairs in basement, although most of their troops all the way on the top floor, just setting up an extended roam here, and by extended, I mean quite extended. This is a lot of utility usage upstairs, excuse me. Still have a reinforcement around, used somewhere. Actually ended up using that last one there, apparently on projector, but this is actually going to be quite a formidable opponent for SSG, especially with just the amount of different ways they can possibly maneuver this. So many different angles and things for Soniqs to abuse on this defense.
Yeah, going to be quite the matrix for SSG to try and work their way through. We'll see if it's going to be possible, though. Hot and Cold probably going to first get close to a member of the Soniqs as he goes up towards the balcony windows. Probably going to be some time, to be fair, before any combat is reached. Just as I say that, though, Hot nearly peeks the player inside of Connector. not going to be so easy to spot that out, although someone does seem to be taking the challenge, at least to confirm that Haden is in that position. There is the response that comes into the barricade he was just on top of, but obviously he's long gone for that, so no damage going to be confirmed. Yeti still pushes forward, though, wants to take the challenge and probably will stay slightly aggressive for some time. The E1D kills that for a couple of seconds, but we can see him going right back into that form a moment later now that he hears the windows downstairs over there by Visa getting breached out, and will put his Overwatch on side of that instead. In fact, duel going to be reached. Bosco quickly unconfirming that, though. Backs away as soon as he gets a spot onto Yeti's position there. Yeti won't be able to return any damage, and it'll obviously be the same for Bosco. Instead, it's going to be Kansan that takes the first bit of blood here as he's hiding out on the inside of Copier, more than likely going up against Fultz outside here in Long Haul. Oh, going to hit his opponent right in the face with a stun charge as well. Once again, no damage coming from that exchange, but Fultz cannot push forward either as he's also going to get hit by that stun. The E1D, let's see. A second chance maybe for Fultz to make forward momentum, but he's got to be careful of that cross angle too. Just no easy way in, but there we go. Finally a pickup for SSG as Kansan falls through the wall.
Oh, the difficulties of Consulate, easily accessible from the windows, and SSG will make full use of that as they'll take down Kansan, but the delay here in the roam working out for the Soniqs. As we saw earlier, Yeti was able to get quite a few of the Soniqs members back downstairs as he held the cross for Tellers. Either way, though, SSG still will make it away with 2 initial picks, one including onto Yeti, so no longer able to use those Evil Eyes, which could be quite impactful going into this last minute, but Super actually still bearing down inside of sight. Haven't seen anything from him this round, playing extremely safe. Still has 3 smokes inside of his pocket.
Are going to fall back, obviously, now that we start to see parts of the garage getting opened up. No longer a safe harbor for those more forward aggressive players, especially with the timer ticking down as low as it is. Soniqs now down by 2 players, having to try to play out these last 30 seconds in a 5v3. One of the few advantages they'll get, say, for the time, obviously, is going to be that positional advantage. They still have positions deeper into the site. Not only that, too, but Rexon very forward right now. Downs Bosco mid-drop on the hatch. Fultz as well, though, going to be able to try and exchange that out, but at a heavy cost as he's now down on the ground too. Another one falters out here. Fultz also getting eliminated, and just like that, a successful defense comes out from the Soniqs in 3v5 fashion to steal the first round out of the hands of SSG.
Now that right there is exactly what you expect from Rexon, but overall an amazing round from the Soniqs. Incredible delay on the roam, able to force SSG into a makeshift plant in the last minute, and it ended up honestly giving them quite a bit of map control to work with. But the big caveat to that is obviously being Rexon continuously pressuring spiral stairs, and SSG just not really aware of the situation. They allow him to take control of that space. He takes down Lion, immediately rotates through the Z, doesn't even finish up the kill, by the way. He knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing for this Soniqs roster and starts to flank immediately. Gets control of yellow, starts taking down targets inside of the actual bomb site. SSG just lost control too early on whilst trying to get that plant down. It should have been abandoned, and they should have tried to go for something else, but they didn't necessarily have the means to do so. Just have to try and throw it at the wall and hope it sticks. So SSG can't make it out of round 1. Soniqs taking that on an exceptional flank.
Both Aruni and Twitch going to get 6 picked in from either team on the inside of this round here, so hiding those elements until, of course, the opposing team does see them, but not going to be too much of a surprise, save for the attackers when they catch that first Twitch drone, but we'll see how exactly SSG will try to utilize that to get past both the bunker setup contained on the first floor, which is being double bunkered now by Rexon as he deploys some ADSs to the inside of it there, allowing for the defenders to hopefully hold a close position to the site until later on into the round, along with this top roam that we're once again seeing, currently being played by Yeti and Grixer. Rexon a little bit helping out with this too, I believe, as he'll be shifting himself over towards the admin and copy area more than likely if he stays up here.
This is just such a solid overall lineup for the Soniqs. They have the information they need. They have the denial as well, with Yeti doing that obviously twofold, with not only denying the space for the hatches for someone to drop down, but also having to give up utility in order to remove those lasers. And, you know, just info denial across the board as well in the likes of Grixer. I mean, this is just really, you know, a jack of all trades lineup here for Consulate. And the biggest thing about it is no 3 armors. You know, you're not going to have anybody slow running around, or, you know, no one with a crazy amount of health, as that has recently been changed in recent history. So no longer having a different armor rating, but actually having more health. But well, at least from what we know and what they've told us, is that it's actually extremely close to the same amount of HP when you had the armor. Obviously, the more armor you had, just the less damage you took. So either way, looks like Grixer actually going to end up running outside. Does he actually get a freebie? There's no way. Can't hop back up. It's going to give Grixer enough time to get back inside. And Kansan also getting a frag on the other side of the building.
Well, that's going to conclude Grixer's fantastical journey from the second floor down to the first. As it's a little off pitch, but it nearly works out. In fact, in the long run, it will work out here because of that additional kill they end up getting, whether it was attached to that scenario or not. Though, still the one that we'll have to take a look at the VOD review for. Either way, though, 5v4 situation once again here. This time, though, it's going to be for the Soniqs as they take the edge in that early first half of the round. Yeti definitely still trying to delay. No, that's unfortunate. So Yeti's going to have to take the long way downstairs. As apparently we've invented invisible barricades. Just the defenders forgot about them. So
yeah, you know,
that's my lore reason anyway. Moving on.
No, it's just that Yeti is so unbelievably incredible. He literally walks on air. That's what it is. He's floating.
He can float on the frequency of the laser gates.
He just starts humming and then he gets, well, full shot in the face. Anyways, either way, all the memes we can possibly make, SSG still have an opportunity to try and win this round, but not before Kansan has a possible quad. He's looking for the fourth, has the nitro cell, finds safety inside of the closet so he doesn't blow himself sky high, but ends up making it out of it either way. Triple kill for him on the round so far, low on HB, but still rearing to go when it comes to these last two remaining members of SSG. Hot and Cold gets taken down from Yeti upstairs. He won't even have to use the escape hatch. Instead, it'll be a quad for the man inside of the closet. The Valkyrie wins it out for the Soniqs, excuse me.
Yeah, so thankfully the bug doesn't end up affecting the Soniqs players too much. Should be noted though that it probably messes with the SSG play a little bit, as obviously I think they would run into the same issue. I forget if that bug is tied to individual players or not, but
I don't necessarily know, to be completely honest with you. But
I think sometimes it's tied to individual players, sometimes it affects everybody. It's been a while since it's happened to me, so I don't really remember it, but
I mean, it used to just be the rubber band issue, but either way, you know, that's something that's obviously comes with new patches and all that kind of stuff, so that will be patched out in the future. And the good news is the Soniqs were definitely ahead in that moment, so it's not the biggest deal when it comes down to it, but obviously something to look back on. Either way, though, the Soniqs are almost halfway through their site rotations here, and that means they're going to be going to the last site on their site triangle, which is going to be split. And not only is it split, but it's split with quite a bit of delay attached to it, especially in Kansan Super and Yeti's case. That Ella and that Malusi is going to be so very annoying to deal with.
Yeah, once again, you're going to see a lot of the defensive reinforcements from the Soniqs go, for the extended game at least, primarily over here towards admin, because realistically, this is where the defenders are going to be able to waste the most time, is on the inside of this room, especially if they're hard committing to it and having their roamers stick in here to play to a defense, especially if the attackers try to execute from the western side over by the CEO office, where a lot of the SSG drones are coming in from right now. It's a great way for the Soniqs to waste time if they should choose to, and even if SSG go directly in through the windows on rappel from the admin side itself, you can still waste quite a bit of the clock away from SSG. So that's why you're going to see quite a bit of an emphasis put onto it here by the Soniqs roster.
Oh, especially with the early aggression from the Soniqs. This is something that we've seen quite a bit so far here on Consulate, just making sure to hold map control and delay SSG as much as possible. And Super just making sure to congratulate his teammate, just make sure that, you know, he knows that he's there for him as well. And either way, you know, not too much action from Super. He hasn't had to do too much besides sit in sight and do his thing. So he's been able to shot call and really play down to the last minute just like he enjoys doing. The Soniqs roster has just looked so damn good so far. SSG trying their damnedest right now to fight back, but it's mostly been a pokey initial phase here from the Soniqs that's delaying SSG or finding the Soniqs those big picks and delaying this offense almost to a stale point, except for that singular round where they attempted their bomb plant.
Super's just like, that was my spawn peak. I told him to do it. he just pulled the trigger.
Yo, man, I told him the Yang. That's my kill.
Either way, though, the Soniqs, let's get off to that hot start with the 5v4. 2 out of 3 rounds now. They've gotten the initial kill here, so looking pretty strong here. Super, a little bit of a dangerous spot having been droned out, but he will be able to venture forward without too much risk to take care of that before quickly falling back into the depths of the basement, where at the moment there's going to be not a whole lot of contention from the SSG side of things. That is instead focused upstairs here, where we can see Fultz, and I don't believe he's alone. Oh, the pre-fire from Fultz. Yeti walks right into it, executing him on the inside of this round and evening us back out. It's not going to be too long, though, before the Soniqs get back that advantage, as Grixer is able to find one against Hot and Cold. And that's not the only player from SSG that's been heavily damaged, thinking down at just a sliver of HP, but Fultz is making up the difference regardless. He evens it out again with a second kill against the admin hold.
Fultz not giving up here inside of round 3. This is a fantastic opportunity for them to try and get their first round on offense. They have what's necessary in order to get the job done, but Now seemingly aware of Grixer upstairs. This will be the next part to their plan. They have to try and get rid of him, but instead, they're actually going to go for the basement attack instead. They still have an EE1D. They'll utilize that to start pressuring Spiral. Lion drops down the hatch inside of lobby. Bosco gets the initial kill, but it seems like the jig is up now. Super with 2! Actually 1 instead. Same gun from Grixer. Doesn't really matter though. It's all down to Fultz in this 1 versus 2. Has the disjointed fight. Also has Case down here inside of the locker's hallway. Still has an opportunity to make an attempted plant, but Super with the double instead. It's the Roni all across the board for the Soniqs to get round 3.
Once again, perfect round being played out there by the Soniqs. Excellent delay coming in on the upstairs hold, and as well, great adjustment from Super and the rest of the squad playing in the basement there to make sure they don't overcommit to any fights and lose far more than they can reckon to lose inside of that basement engagement there, leading to a chaotic post-plant scenario that the remaining upstairs player would have to deal with in that situation. So a solid 3-0 lead built up for the Soniqs. We do expect a defender-sided lead on this map for Consulate, but not necessarily to this dominating of a degree. SSG will have to try and find some solidity on this attacking side. Otherwise, we could be looking at a very, very quick match in the Soniqs' favor here if things don't change up. They're about to go on their second run-through of sites now that they've begun to unlock themselves since we're entering round 4.
Yeah, quite a difficult road ahead for SSG, but there are some glimmers of hope for this roster that are already showing and bubbling to the surface, especially instead of that last round. As you guys heard it inside of the video from SSG talking about what was missing with Canadian and what they were looking for was those late round calls. And that right there already shows you that there's synergy amongst this team. They're already thinking about what their best opportunity is to win a round inside of those late round engagements. That was the perfect call right there. They had the last E1D on Bosco. It's a 3 versus 3. They know there's more than likely only 2 people downstairs, so that's what they need to take control of. Take the 3 versus 2. You can plant downstairs as well, and if everything goes right, then you only have to cover your flank for the guy coming down the staircases or dropping a hatch. It's fairly straightforward for SSG, just doesn't go off very well as well. Super had other plans.
Obviously, these very early picks, just through like the window peaks as well, are definitely causing some problems for SSG. So as much as they can be, needs to be dealt with here, as that's giving the Soniqs that early advantage. So far, 2 out of 3 of the rounds that's been played out. Now, obviously, not going to be expecting it to occur here on a basement hold. It's pretty hard to get to a position where you might be able to utilize that and still be relatively safe. But who knows? Soniqs have already got 2 working for themselves. It's not to say it's out of the cards. We might get a 3rd one here in a moment if somebody can get into position. But either way, SSG definitely needed to control things just a tad better inside of that early round, like we saw on this very site attack. So we could immediately start to see that come back into the fold on this round, in addition to, of course, that late round scramble on the last round, attacking inside of that 3vx situation. Didn't seem to have the greatest amount of intel about what the basement hold was looking like, just trying to go for an audible play there. Obviously, if they can improve that, either through better droning or just better utilization of the time to enable that droning, that's going to definitely start to clean up their play also.
Well, yeah, well, especially inside of the round for the basement defense, right? Like, SSG actually ended up having the man advantage going for that execute. I think it was a 3v4 going into that, and it was really just Rexon on the flank that ended up taking that round by storm for the Soniqs. They really didn't have any opportunity there besides that flank to go off, and no one really aware of what was going on around grass, all except for Bosco on the Lion, but he gets obviously taken down initially, so that grants enough space for Rexon to get a lot more work done, and work he did. Either way, though, looks like we will be headed back downstairs with pretty solid defense, and SSG changing up some things on this offense. Hot and Cold going to be adopting the Maverick. Nade still rocking the Habana and keeping some other utility pieces across the board, all except for what seems to be new with this Jackal.
Bosco up on the roof right there. If anyone's wondering what he was doing, I believe he was looking for one of the Valkyrie cameras thrown outside as he was just peering through the trees for a second. But either way, he'll also be able to be nice overwatch here in case someone from the Soniqs goes upstairs, tries to play that window run out, or of course, chuck some C4s from it. Because from what you guys have seen, SSG has not really gone for any sort of upstairs or even really a first floor clear. They're focusing entirely on the site, more than likely to resolve the issues from round 1, where they spent far too much time clearing out those first and second floor rooms, and then and then did not have an adequate enough time to attack the actual basement. So instead, now hyper-focusing on that in hopes that a greater renewed focus on the site is going to lead to better success. And it does present problems, though, notably here with Rexon already opening up that top-down angle and basically having quite a free kill on anybody that's going to try to rush through that garage door.
This is basically Rexen saying, hey, I'm inside of piano, come get me. Because the SSG have already been able to get the panel open, and they don't necessarily want to attack like this. This is a terrible funnel right now. Anybody that goes through this garage is more than likely dead unless they have something serious to chuck at these defensive members. That might be where the Jackal smokes come into play. But as of right now, the Soniqs look quite stoic to actually hold this down, especially with that top angle over the garage. I'm really worried about what that has to offer for the Soniqs. Still have quite a few members offsite as well who could possibly play spoils to this situation. Frag grenade still going out for SSG. Rampy with one, but Rexen with that top angle yet again to take him down. Bosco going to pressure into piano. He'll take one for himself, but not before he's traded by Kansan, starting to pressure yellow. SSG end up on top of the pile. Yeti trying to battle back as he'll go for the rotate down low, but all of a sudden it's on to Kansan. SSG overcome the defense inside of garage, leaving 30 seconds. Plenty of time to plant, but also plenty of time for Kansan to get the reposition and set himself up for this clutch.
I like what we're seeing there from SSG. It's very risky, to be perfectly honest with you, but in this situation, it works out flawlessly. Just purely overwhelming the Soniqs, it seems, by forcing them into way too many fights, way too quickly, and way too many parts of the map for them to be able to adequately control, as we saw there with the situation of, Super, for instance, getting overwhelmed on the inside of the basement, while at the same time, their piano player also getting funneled. And while those players are able to trade on the inside of those fights and still bring the man count down for SSG, yes, that's true, but remember, in the early round there, SSG was spending all that time getting the information about what the actual site setup looked like. So even with those lower player numbers, that's just less stress for them on the actual push in through the garage doors as they try to get the diffuser down on the ground, and ultimately just plays into their favor that much further.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake there for the Soniqs is more than likely what went down inside of piano. Obviously, very strong positioning there for Rexen with the Valkyrie. Used the impacts to open up the piano floor, which obviously tells SSG, hey, someone's inside of piano. Soniqs more than likely know that, right, going forward into that round, but they didn't reposition in order to hold the areas in which SSG could attack piano from. Most notably yellow, because that's where Lion just flooded in and ended up killing their piano player. It gets refragged by their yellow stairs player, but you should have been holding that initially anyways. That's a really, really big piece of the puzzle to make sure that Rexen doesn't run into any issues. He's also getting pressured from lobby as well, but that one's fairly straightforward and expected as, well, we actually saw Rexen looking over there initially when it came to that clear from SSG, but the clear was just way too strong for that mid-level, and Soniqs were not able to bounce back, especially inside of sight with what you were talking about with Super.
All right, well, into another round here. Obviously a great rebound on the strategy for SSG coming off of that first round execute, able to correct it on the second run through there on round 4. Now time to see if they can do it once again, as we're going to be following that same sight line here. Soniqs just go right to the lobby as well as piano hold, which was their second site before as well, and time to see how SSG innovates themselves on this attack. Already 30 seconds into it, Grixer will get the early spot onto the walk-up. I believe it's going to be Houghton if it was the same player as last time, and indeed it is. So Houghton once again going to be trying to challenge towards this. I was still alive right now. Houghton having two to different 3 players peek him here while trying to knock out the window panels, and somehow survives it, but then challenges it once again, finally. With his luck running out, leading to his death, and we've got a whole lot more kills besides this happening. 3 more players have gone down while we've been talking here, and it's into a 3v3. Both teams still in an even heat. SSG with no building access as of yet. They were denied on a push in through the front door here, but they still have 2 more players ready to push themselves forward, with the third trying to get some pressure in from yellow stairs as well. You can see, though, the Soniqs have their own defensive matrix set up. Yeti specifically quarantined behind that circle desk. Rexen and Grixer playing from alternate angles also to try and support this. Yeti actually fell back. He's going to wrap all the way back upstairs here to play into the angle he was in previously.
Well, it seems like TSM isn't the only one with Consulate issues, huh? I mean, you didn't get the Geo one, did you? Geo's having visa issues right now. Anyways, Yeti and the rest of the squad upstairs, still inside of this 3v3, locked in. Minute and 20 remaining. This has been quite the round so far for the Soniqs. They've been able to rebound quite a few times, especially with this top hold, that which they still actually have. Looks like SSG might be trying for something a touch risky, but high reward here on yellow as they look to possibly just pressure the site. Rexen seemingly aware of the position. They have some Z pings going on towards the top of yellow, so seemingly aware. Look at the Jackal track down as well onto the Jaeger, so have some extremely solid info to work off of, as well as, well, the positioning of Yeti upstairs as he gets taken down from Rampy. Gets the cam as well from front desk, but now Rexen fighting back inside of stalls. He's able to take down one as these two continue to tussle back and forth.
Problem with Rexon, though, he's still low HP here, sub 25. He can't really move an inch here, but at the same time, attackers quickly running out of time. Rexon gets an aggressive opportunity because Rampy's watching Z, can't secure the bathroom as well. Now, yeah, easy trade for Rampy because Rexon's so low, but he's got to win out this final 1v1 too. And now Rampy suffering the same issue that Rexon just was. He's low on HP. He's going to be at a health disadvantage on this gunfight. Grixer as well with this solid 7.5 seconds to move in whatever position he would like. He's got it, but no, the health advantage has been evened out and now turned against Grixer's favor. He can't find the shot against Rampy right now. He's got the chassis to play off of on the other end of this. Rampy seems to be in full control of the situation, and now it's up to Grixer to make the clutch. Can he find that headshot? Not so easy, as he's just looking for any crosshair opportunity to take down Rampy. He's not finding it, though. He's gonna have to push forward. 20 seconds left, 13 to get on the case, and no, won't even make it there. Rampy shuts it down with a superior angle, and SSG win the round.
I didn't even know that they had competitive whack-a-mole, but yet here we are. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Grixer ends up making a mad dash towards the frontal lobby there. He gets eventually back to the bomb chassis, but that right there seemed to be what sealed the deal for him inside of that engagement, because he couldn't stick those angles how he wanted to. That's why he kept swinging and getting those pre-fires in there. Just trying to make sure that if he is peeking, he's sending shots, gives him the best opportunity to obviously take down Rampy. But that initial health loss really hindered him and what he could possibly do later on into that engagement. But either way, the mechanical skill in between those two, just changing so many different angles and trying to just pepper each other up until eventually one dies. Very well done. But either way, SSG end up taking that round, and that's going to give them their second as they're trying to bring this back up against the Soniqs. And as for them in their camp, well, they're headed back downstairs, and it looks to be very similar strokes from what we've seen before.
We are going to see that the split site will be the only one that Soniqs are able to flawlessly defend, and that's only because they play it one single time. Other than that, though, we are going to see the other sites they played into have a non-flawless record, this one included, as they'll be trying it for a third time inside of this match. And we'll have to see if SSG can once again take the cake here. A big adjustment for them between the first and fourth rounds, where they did have to go up against this attack. Much heavier focus on just going directly for the basement, more importantly gathering intel on that basement setup and dealing with the utility that might have been inside of there much earlier in the round. This presented risks in that they had to take a lot of open gunfights in order to make the progress later in the round and clearing out the roam game, but it still worked out pretty confidently, I would say, in the favor of SSG. So unless they've got another strategy they want to show us here, I would expect something similar to come in on this round.
Well, we'll have to see what they have in store for us, John, as well. It's been pretty explosive back and forth between these two. We start off with the Soniqs tear of 3 rounds. SSG finally bouncing back, although it's in a lot closer rounds. Either way, though, looks to be that SSG wants to start things off with, well, a pretty traditional clear here for Consulate. They'll be starting things over on the admin side, but that could possibly get thwarted as Yeti is playing top admin. As for the Soniqs, and as for what John had been saying previously, this is exactly what they had done inside of the previous round. They really like holding on to this top floor and trying to delay as much time as possible. This forces SSG into the full clear, and the more time that they're able to delay, less time SSG obviously has to actually get their execute off. And looks like the Soniqs so far doing a very good job of hindering this drone game and information for SSG.
I would say the Soniqs have been doing a fantastic job of just wasting time overall as well here. Quite a few situations where SSG has really been stressed to the limit of the timer and has been forced to play into it. Really only changing that scenario when we see SSG get off to a solid start and build their man advantage right from the very beginning of the round, which in this case, obviously we're not going to see that. Soniqs take the early kill, nearly losing it on an exchange as a member of SSG peeks out over the top of the spiral balcony there towards the top of it. Houghton will actually be able to confirm the exchange a few seconds later, though, but it's in a detached fight. At the same time, Grixer, still a threat from the top of yellow, takes out Fultz and reacquires the advantage for our defending team. Bosco is going to look to try and trade once again, but can't meet his opponent on the cross. Grixer is going to be able to escape, and I believe should have a hatch opening somewhere here to make it downstairs. Maybe not.
What's up?
Bosco going to cross him instead, takes him out with a quick headshot, and eliminates him.
I'm like, was that a single bullet? Did he fire one bullet and kill that guy? That was, whew, okay. Anyways, if that did happen, hats off to you, Bosco. That was actually just incredible. But either way, the Soniqs have been playing this extremely well so far. Able to get that Jackal pick initially. They end up losing the potential value of that from Grixer, obviously getting taken down, but he'll 1-for-1 himself at a minimum. So we're here inside of the 3v3. Still hard destruction for SSG. Most drones down, all except for Bosco's, which is more than likely holding a flank, but they'll miss drone Yeti inside of the corner here. Still has ADSs to work with as well. Can't get the flick down onto Habana. Attempted refrag here from security, but seemingly can't find Nade's head through this breach. He's going to double stun and start to pressure. He needs to get this plant down, but Super still has a singular toxic babe. He'll throw that forward, but it's the peek from Nade as Rexon can't read the situation correctly. The last EE1D goes out from Bosco, and it's Super, the captain of the Soniqs, to attempt the clutch. He's got solid position here on yellow. Zero utility to actually use as of right now. Hops into the garage bay, not able to get it done up against Bosco as SSG will equalize on their offense.
Bosco and Thinking Aid with some really great individual play there. Bosco, more importantly, with a catch against Grixer over by the piano connector to lobby, and then inside of the late round shutting down Super. And obviously inside of the site, Thinking Nade doing so much of the work, interrupting mid-plant to take down the player that was rushing him from left white van. And I believe he picked up one more kill over the process of that round as well. Don't know the specifics on that at this point in time, though. Either way, though, a great effort between those two players to make sure that SSG are really able to, up until the very end at least, kind of trade their way to victory, as that was a scrappy round. Both teams constantly bleeding out their player count, but ultimately to serve into SSG's favor as they are able to tie it up, a full 3-round run for them after Sonic did the very same thing at the beginning of the first half, now leaving us even as the teams will switch sides.
Well, this is something that we heard a lot about in between, obviously, Stage 1 and Stage 2 with Six Invitational 2021 wrapping up and us finally getting international competition back. Which region was the best? What happened there? Oh my gosh, there was just so much action. Well, guys, it's LATAM. LATAM is just so elite at Rainbow Six Siege, and we heard a lot of teams from across the board, from across the regions, talking about why they're so good and the changes that people wanted to make to their teams possibly to sort of mirror, but obviously bring in their own style to more of that style of play, meaning obviously rounds moving a little bit faster, going away from those last 20-second executes and really trying to combat the defense or the offense very early into the round and make them work throughout the round to gain map control and actually fork up that utility, rather than, hey, we're just going to sit inside of Eternal setup and you guys can kind of wait 2 minutes and then try to attack the site.
So moving into the first of SSG's defensive rounds, we will see how exactly their strategy, more importantly their play style, may end up differing from what we saw from the Soniqs in those previous 6 rounds. You still have the very large emphasis on the upstairs hold, and it extends down to Spiral on the first floor as well, kind of between the first floor and the basement there. So you got Rampy doing most of the heavy lifting when it comes to the second floor, though he does have support in varying extents. You can see Houghton just moved up the Visa stairs to assist him here, and I believe throw down the last remaining pests that he might still have in his inventory now that they have a clear picture of the early push from the Soniqs, focusing pretty heavily on that console side. You can see 2 players on rappel for it, and I believe 1 more drifting towards the yellow area also to try to put some pressure there. A very big focus on the drones right now for the Soniqs, and that extends their utility here for Yeti as well, as he's already thrown out 3 of those Argus cams, one of the last ones going down here on the the back of Spiral now in order to give them that extra piece of info.
Fantastic information across the board from the Soniqs, but that means they're going to have to do something with it. And they've already got a lot of control upstairs. I really like the operator lineup that they're running right now as well, especially with Yeti on Sam Fisher, bringing that secondary hard destruction as well as all those cameras. Just so potent. And obviously run amok of this round for the Soniqs if given the right circumstances. But paired with an IQ, that's going to make IQ get a lot more traction, because it just seems like Sam Fisher is just, you know, one big area of utility. He's got secondary hard breach. He's also got our recent secondary explosive round as well. You know, there's just so many things you can do with him, and it just makes it to where IQ works a lot more on a map like this. And we've seen IQ get a lot of, you know, traction on this map previously, especially up against an operator like Valkyrie.
Nope, time getting low. The Soniqs being brought down to their last minute of time they have here. A little bit of a mess up from Kansas. It's going to knock it up a 40 of his HP. Certainly can't help, but the kill against SSG is not really going to be helping them too much either. Thinking Nade goes down. That's also going to remove the movement capabilities from those evil eyes, as well as any potential denial that could have come from him off of those eyes in the late round. Nice Nitro Cell coming out from Houghton. Takes out Grixer and evens the player count once again. With 30 seconds left, the Soniqs don't have a whole lot of time to sit here and think about how to correct the mistakes. They just have to go, and unfortunately, they still haven't even dealt with the upstairs room. Not only to account that, but you've got Fultz close to the front of the site, causing problems as well. Houghton strikes again to take out Yeti. Kansan trying to make a push forward against the upstairs room now, but it's too late. Down to just 2 players. Fultz makes the push up yellow to take down Kansan, and while one more exchange has gone out in the favor of the Soniqs, it's not really going to matter for much here, as Super is up against the world, and he can't come out with the clutch. SSG take the round.
Way too difficult for the Soniqs to try and get that plant down there. Yes, they had all the cameras to try and cover the flank, but that doesn't necessarily help you when a Vigil is roaming. And honestly, that isn't necessarily what happened at all with that round. Rampy just happened to be on roam. That was really about it. He really only delayed Kansan a little bit before he eventually died to the, I believe, it was a Vector. I'm trying to remember the operator's name right now. It's escaping me. But either way, ended up dying to the player Pipes. And yeah, they're able to get control of Yellow as well as start attempting inside of Garage, but no real pressure in the spaces that they needed. They wanted to try and work it through verticality, especially with the sledge, but we saw what happened with that with Hot and Cold. And then after that, the Soniqs just really aren't able to turn it into anything. They end up losing a lot of bodies to SSG members in sight. SSG especially working a lot of the different positions in sight over and over again, especially that Pipes area. We saw them retake that, especially with Fultz, and continue to hold on to that and really give the Soniqs a lot of trouble. So we'll see if that continues on throughout these defensive rounds, but so far so good for the Space Station roster.
Yeah, taking the lead, obviously, off of that round puts them only 3 away from shutting things down and getting off to a solid start in Stage 2 of the NAL here. For the Soniqs, obviously not wanting to have that fate befall upon them, going out 0-1. We'll see what they do to try to bring themselves back in it. We are still going to have Sam Fisher in play for Yeti, and a very similar lineup aside from that as well. Interesting, the track stinger is going to come into play here as well for Super. I don't see this operator picked super often, no pun intended. But it should be interesting to see her coming into the fold once again, because like I said, she's a bit of a rare pick nowadays.
I really hope you guys cannot hear the thunder in the background. I put a noise gate back on my mic,
so.
But okay, fantastic, awesome. Awesome. Because, yeah, there's little cannons being fired outside of my house right now. So, either way, though, for the Soniqs, they are going to be changing some things up, as you said, bringing in the gridlock. And honestly, I really like this pick. This isn't something that we get to see too often, like you said. But not only does she have smokes to assist with the plant, but she also has attract stingers, which are one of the most potent utilities when it surrounds staircases. That's really it. We see a lot of use of her on Consulate, and we see her on Cafe. That's why you really don't see her anywhere else, because, well, Nomad exists, and Nomad's really good at flank watch as well. So SSG, with a solid defensive hold, they're actually going to be upstairs, which is a site that we didn't get played too often when it came down to it. I mean, honestly, having a pretty solid defensive win rate actually at SI actually ended up beating out Lobby Piano on the grand stage in comparison to what we saw last season inside of North America, where everyone practically hated this site.
Yeah, starting to see a little bit more play fall back into it. Could be part of the reason why we see SSG drifting towards it. Obviously, the influences are coming in a bit differently considering the player swap since then, but the Soniqs do get off to a good start here as they're able to take down Houghton pretty early on into the round. Going to remove the Mozzie from play, so definitely a more aggressive operator, not going to dispatch too much on the utility front as those pests will still be capturing drones that run past them, just won't be able to actively control them anymore, which is more of a side effect more than the main point of the utility that comes with that operator regardless. Yeti with a good lineup on the pre-fire, just can't find the head of his opponent. That's going to be Fultz going down low as a result of that pre-fire damage. Aside from that, though, nothing else captured at this point by the Soniqs. More specifically in the name of map control here, still trying to look for something to grab onto so they can really start pressuring out some of these hard lock defenders from SSG and hopefully inching that much closer to the site take. This may be an explosive one at the end of the day, as they haven't gone for any sort of admin control and are focusing very heavily on this repel. And in fact, we'll be right about that. Super crosses in with the smoke support. Here comes the first plant attempt from him, but it is going to be resisted even slightly by Rampy there, who takes out Rexon on the window as well. Can't help out with this anymore. It's going to get so chaotic, but the Fuser goes down onto the ground. We get locked into a 2v2. Super the planter still alive in the site, but he's taking some heat right now as he goes down to 75. Seems to have survived it though. Bosco not able to get the winning angle against him, and the same can be said for Fultz, but Bosco needs to do a lot of the heavy lifting right now. He's got the highest HP. He's got the best angle to assault from, and Super, I believe possibly as a result of the smoke, might have gone down there, more than likely coming in as a tag as well. Oh no, what the heck? Super gets a kill on the Fultz post-mortem as well from the track stingers because Fultz is so low. But ultimately, SSG still win the retake there and take the round.
Okay, so this has been a pretty chaotic consulate so far.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, execute going off almost right when you were talking about it as well. So nice little caster's curse there. But that's the thing about consulate, John, especially about that top floor, is that the execute might not seem like it's going off, but that's because they simply haven't smoked anything yet. That's all it is. They literally smoke the angles and swing in through windows. Consulate's top floor is practically like 80% window play. You can access so many different things from those avenues, and they abuse every single facet of it, only holding on to yellow there. I think they also had a cross angle from bathroom or connector. I'm not too sure on that, but the smoke's working out extremely well for Super. He's able to get the plant down, but obviously it's the post plant that goes south for the Sonics.
Either way, though, things looking bright for SSG as they take the first 2 out of 3 of their site rotations, now going to the split for the potential third and maybe final one. We'll see if they really want to test their luck and go for the true split site here as the 4th and final site, assuming they win this one, but obviously they'll be unlocking the other ones for play afterwards as well. And assuming that they win this one, they'll also be put into a match point situation, so more than likely going to want to try and close things out as quickly as possible under that scenario. But we'll have to wait and see if that can be true, as the Sonics obviously still had a good run, specifically at the beginning of this map, but to be fair to them, have lost 5 rounds straight since then. So when exactly are we going to see this Sonics roster bounce back into the match?
That's a really, really good question. Obviously, these last 2 offensives haven't been too hot, but that could change up at any moment. They're obviously still trying to work around that gridlock. As we said before, it got quite a bit of traction, no pun intended, that last round. But either way, looks like they want to stick with it and see if it could possibly help them with this lobby offense. And it surely can, especially with the smokes. The track stinger is extremely annoying when it comes down to it to try and clear out. But, I mean, we have impacts on the defense and quite a few explosives to boot. So still some useful utility for them to combat that. We'll have to see how that breaks down later. Either way, though, the Sonics will be starting things off on the east side of the map as they start to chunk this up. Already running into a few problems is, well, Rampy currently on Soda Machine.
And Rampy going to be continuing to be annoying from this position as well, unless he's going to be completely overwhelmed, which, to be fair, looks like it could be a good possibility. The Sonics already repelling and swinging, more importantly, to the inside of admin itself. Hot and trying to move up to assist, but it seems like it's a little bit too late on trying to actively push out the Sonics members from the inside of admin. Kansan, along with Grixer, in full control. What's more important is the IQ is assisting the push as well, so you're not going to see the Vigil have too much success trying to avoid the drone game here, because the second he turns that on and the players on drones realize it, well, call goes to the IQ, looks in that general direction, and they immediately know where Rampy's at. Here's the good news, though. They can still play out the delay from the second floor to first floor, and eventually basement, possibly transition there in the form of this utility that we're going to see used to knock out Super and destroy a very important piece of Sonic's execute utility.
The Sonics making solid progress so far, but as you said, Super now gone, no more track stingers, and more importantly, no more smokes, which we saw them use to their fullest potential inside of that previous round. SSG still with a very solid defense and great hold upstairs. Rampy attempting to get rid of a drone to,
Just can't find it.
Give Fultz some more breathing room, and as you said, can't find the drone. But
if Rampy's just like, you're on your own, bud. have fun with that one.
Hey, I might be able to flick the backpack on and off for you a couple times, so that's really about it. You're gonna have to kill the guy. I'm no murderer. I just got a backpack. Either way, though, this has been quite the round so far for SSG. Right after they clean up Super, I mean, it's just been slowly backing off and, well, leaving Valkyrie inside of the stall upstairs to play for a late flank, as well. No Sonics member is actually going to check it. So Fultz very safe here for the time being, and obviously the Sonics still have to get an execute off some way, somehow. Seems like they know exactly where this Ash is. Rampy gonna run in, and actually, no, they don't have any insight on this at all. Instead, he impacts to let them know that they're gonna make the rotate, but instead, he'll get a Sonic surprise, and the Sonic surprise yet again as they get a plant down inside of lobby. Grixer gets a kill. Nade refrags onto Yeti inside of Circle Desk as well. As SSG, it's all hands on deck as Fultz finds the double.
Now, SSG are recovering. A weird lapse of info, it seems, on what was going on in front lobby to allow the plant to go down in the first place, but they're slowly getting back under control. That's until, of course, Kansan picks up that very important kill upstairs. That's going to take a whole lot of pressure off of Grixer. Hot and Cold's able to hold on his own. Now he can reignite it back against Grixer since he's the only player standing here. Seemed to have had the lineup against Thinking Nade's head, but apparently not. Thinking Nade wins it instead, once more with the Alda as he shuts down this round and pushes SSG up on the map point.
Never cold, always hot, hot and cold with SSG currently up 6-3 on the Soniqs for their first map. Did you think we were going to be saying that? I didn't think we were going to be saying
not to
that.
this degree. I mean, like, I thought we would have a close game to a certain extent, just considering the caliber of these players, of course, but didn't think SSG was going to give us 6 consecutive rounds in a row. Quite likely 7 if they close out this last one on a basement defense.
I'll be really honest with you, Cyano. I could have told you that one right there. It's going to be a Soniqs timeout. They need to go back to the drawing board and figure some things out here, because as of right now, this is not working. And mostly it's due in part to SSG's aggressive holds on Rome. This is something that they've talked about, that you're not really going to see anything that is very similar to what SSG has been doing in their past. We haven't seen SSG be this aggressive on defense in quite some time. Like, obviously they have roams. We obviously all know them for, you know, Clubhouse and what they've done with that map. But to the degree as of this, is leaving somebody on roam and making sure to play out these situations, it's just such solid work for them right now. And that's why they got these 6 rounds in a row. The adjustments are unparalleled right now inside of this matchup. But now the ball is in the Soniqs court. They have 3 rounds to run it up to just overtime. And then past that, they still have an opportunity to win. But we have to hit that first goal first.
SSG certainly looking impressive, though, if this first match is any indication of the performance we can expect from them in the future. Either way, pause time is going to conclude, and we're going to go back into the game. Hopefully, the Soniqs were able to come up with a winning strategy on this basement attack to get them out of this tough position and that much closer to overtime. We're going to get an interesting 6-pick as well from the SSG camp. Not too interesting when you consider the overall implications of the round, as we're going to go from the very fun and interesting active pulse play to the man with the electro sticks. So, going to be a little bit more straightforward in terms of how the overall team composition lines up, but is going to give a little bit of a surprise to the attackers here, as they won't find it so easy to deal with. Mainly these 3 barricades on the garage that Fultz is now reinforcing, and will electrocute in just a moment.
Okay, so Soniqs obviously knowing where SSG are going to go back to. I like the adjustment they have here. They're going to take Yeti off of 0, which didn't really seem to get any traction at all, John. I don't believe they got any mileage out of it. No flanks really covered. I mean, they were able to pop a hatch with a secondary utility, and obviously Yeti was able to get a frag or 2, but when it comes down to his utility usage, it didn't really seem like the Soniqs were getting what they wanted out of it. I think the ace change here, especially considering that they're attacking Garage, is definitely one to call home about.
Yeah, I mean, we really only followed his cam work on that single round where they were attacking. I believe it was the upstairs site, if I recall. Or actually, I think it was the basement hold, if I recall correctly. But a large majority, if not all those cameras, got used against the first floor hold, where they seem to have been expecting a lot more resistance, and ultimately those cameras didn't seem to give them a whole lot. So that is judging it based off 1 round, to be fair, which isn't a super fair conclusion, but it's all the greatest info I've gathered, at least off these previous rounds. So if that's any indication, then I agree with the switch away from it. It doesn't really seem like it was contributing all that much to the overall info game from the Soniqs.
Man, if I wasn't an SSG fan before, I sure as hell am now. This setup inside a bathroom just looks so stellar. Triple ADS, double WMI discs. They burnt the WMI discs very early on here that Rampy gets inside of the prep phase, and he's going to just keep tossing up this hatch. That's exactly what I thought. So as of right now, you have to throw 6 things inside of that room just to get the deployable shield. So, good luck. I don't really know what else I have to say there. That's just so well done from SSG to set up that bathroom.
So we're going to see if the Soniqs are able to work their way past this, or if they will ultimately falter to the renewed strength. The new 5th of SSG, along with, of course, the old strength coming in from the previous members as well. Either way, looking strong here today at a 6-3 scoreline. Going to try to make it 7-3 on this round, but the Soniqs, such a solid performance inside of those first 3 rounds. They, too, were looking like a force to be reckoned with, but all that has gone away. Will we get any of that back? Or will it all fall by the wayside to SSG running a complete 7-round gauntlet in order to complete victory on their first day of Stage 2? You see, the Soniqs have made a decent amount of progress, specifically getting themselves piano control, but here's the problem. Hot and cold, still nice and cozy on the inside of the bathroom, and it's not going to change anytime soon. They will have to come up with a solution to that sooner rather than later, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of soon left with only a minute remaining on the clock.
Yeah, might as well install a fireplace inside of that bathroom, because that man is lounging in there. He is not leaving anytime soon. Obviously has the escape hatch, but that is the last resort, and I mean last resort for Hot and Cold. He's going to hold onto this shield as long as he possibly can. They already have Rampy rotating around as well. He's worked his way into Visa office, is going to be holding all the way towards benches or Z, whatever you guys call it, but this is going to make things quite difficult for the Soniqs as they try to rotate out and go anywhere else. Rampy already has the cutoff for Spiral, so they really can only operate operate around Garage and Yellow as of right now, although they more than likely don't know that. Smoke's now out as well. We've hit the 30-second mark, and that means Bosco can start burning things, as you'd expect from one of the best smokes in the entire world. And this is going to make things even more difficult for the Sonics, as they don't have another avenue to actually enter the Garage. Only a singular one, but now the trades ensue. 4v4, Super starts the plant, and he's going to find some safe harbor as well. The smokes actually assisting him that he's dropped, and that'll get the plant off as it goes down into a 3v3, make that a 3v2. Grixer, excuse me. Now with a triple kill on the round, and Sonics set up to take their first offense.
See here, thinking Nate going to be able to fire back, though, wins a very important gunfight versus Grixer, and now it's these two remaining players with such low HP. The important factor here, though, is they've got the top-down angle to go against the diffuser, so this is not going to be an easy retake at all. In fact, they've now completely re-rotated back downstairs into the basement itself, thinking Nate can play close to the chest. This is a little risky, in my opinion, here, just because they're going to expose themselves to more direct angles, such as that, but they need to get back in here, need to get on the diffuser, and unfortunately, cannot get the job done. The Sonics will be able to hold on in that post plant there and take control finally of an attacking round for themselves, breaking the streak from SSG, and more importantly, keeping the Sonics in the match for one final round at least. Still need to run the next two flawlessly, though. Otherwise, SSG still looking at a win here today.
Fantastic play from the Sonics. Minimal control, but major reward. They're only able to hold on to Yellow, Stairs, Piano, and Garage, but they're able to play the cutoff so very well, especially for the positioning inside of Garage. Able to take down quite a few members, use those smokes to the full advantage, get that bomb down, or case down, in fact, and actually able to just play it out from there. The biggest thing there for the Sonics was obviously the off spot that Super had to put it because of the smokes coming in and all the other utility going through. He had to just plant right in between the two cars, which is a usual spot, but it's kind of hard to defend, especially with the way that they ended up breaking up the Garage. So that'd more than likely have to be stopped from someone swinging Yellow or some vertical play. So the Sonics try and hold on to those two avenues, and they actually end up winning out through that. It's the trade game once again, John. These two simply cannot combat each other without somehow ending up on the same man count.
Such a close matchup here, but now here's going to be the issue for the Sonics. They go up against unfamiliar territory, specifically when it comes to how SSG set themselves up. We have not seen SSG play onto this site as of yet, as we'll go to the final point on this map they can rotate to, which is going to be the split site, for those who are not too aware of this map's layout. But either way, will be one of the more difficult ones to handle, specifically for the Sonics, as there's many ways as a defender you can try to handle this one. And we are going to see quite an interesting take on it here from SSG. Just waiting to see what the final positions of these players are going to be looking like, as we've got quite a bit of a commitment to the upstairs, so more than likely going to be seeing some active resistance against this yellow take from the Sonics that they're now trying to take position for.
Oh, Castle, it has been so long, my friend. How are you doing? I mean, it feels like we're just dusting him off right now. Haven't seen this guy in forever, but he's finally back out and about in SSG's Consulate defense here that can possibly win them the last round to take out Sonics inside of regulation. Nitro Cell's now being burnt for SSG. Some damage off from Hot and Cold, but he can't win the fight up against Rex. And the immediate refrag, though, as to be expected in between these two squads. But we'll have to see a little later on as to how these castles are actually set up for Nade, as well, seemingly none of them here on this top floor as Sonics begin their clear.
Might be set up to stop a more direct push into the basement, or more to restrict play around these spiral hallways would be my guess, but we'll obviously get a better glimpse of that later on in the round when we have to see the Sonics take those out of play. Now, once again, the Pulse coming back in. We talked a little bit about him earlier. He'd been 6 picked out, but there's quite a bit of active potential for the Pulse to come in for those who are unaware inside of Consulate. Most notably because he can, for the most part, see across this entire map, vertically speaking, at any given time. So he's able to gather a lot of free info, like you just saw right there. I believe that was a ping from him going on to one of the members of the Sonics being detected outside. So it just gives that extra little sense of relief for the defenders to know where exactly any sort of big groupings from the Sonics may be coming from at any given moment. Even extending that, of course, to individual players, as we just saw there with a spot from Bosco. A little bit of aggressive pressure from Super onto the basement here, but as you guys are going to see, won't lead to a whole lot here. More posturing than anything. Fultz, though, might get a bit more than he's bargained for here as he goes across. Just the worst timing, unfortunately, as Super gets a free one against him when he re-peaks Spiral.
He's got to be happy about that, as the Sonics have the man advantage and no refrag available right now for SSG. Although they do have some great map control as of right now, especially for Rampy, as he's still upstairs inside of admin. And not only that, but he actually has the hatch popped to look down into Visa. He can play a lot of different spots here, especially this window that Yeti's currently manning. Obviously, the clear from the Soniqs coming in from the west. They still had some people downstairs that we last saw, but looks like the plant wants to go down inside of Tellers. This is fairly straightforward for them, but they have to worry about the nitro cells coming in from down low, as well a hidden figure up top that we've been talking about for a little bit. We'll see if Rampy gets away with his escapades, or if Soniqs have something to say about it as well. Looks like the plant might be starting very soon.
Super making his first attempt now. Bosco's going to be able to hear that. Nitro's
Goodbye.
out. Will the cancel come in? No, it will not. Super doesn't detect it quickly enough. Rampy gets another kill also. So all of a sudden, the Soniqs are down to just 2 players. Going to connect each other here in the connector, leading from Spiral, and make one final attempt to get this down onto the ground. But Bosco's still a threat from up on top. Yeti will fend off the first duel, but cannot handle the second. And we will finally see the conclusion of this matchup as SSG take control of their first game of the season.
Such a difficult round there for the Soniqs, not able to truly get the map control needed in order to put a bomb down. But either way, great showing from them to start off the season. But SSG, I've got to say, I am quite impressed with this roster, especially with the recent pickup of Hot and Cold.
Yeah, things are looking great, and that's to say a small amount as well, considering the time that this player has been on the roster. Hopefully, a bright future and a bright resurgence is going to be in the cards here for SSG after that good performance. I can really only hope the same thing, though, when it comes to the Soniqs. We saw such great promise coming out of them on the inside of the previous stage, so it would be a shame if we end up seeing that be kind of the expectation on a match-to-match basis for them for stage 2. I don't think that is going to be the case. I'm just hoping that this is a little bit of a bump in the road as they're now getting back into that, kind of competitive sense with the stage beginning, but hopefully we'll see better performances from them in future matchups.
Yeah, you really have to give this one up to Super and Joe Bro, and really the whole Soniqs roster just, trying to figure out how the heck to come up against SSG. I mean, not only is it a new roster, right, but it's a completely different look. They changed up a lot of things. The playstyle for SSG there was quite different from what we used to see, and it's just hard to try and game plan around those parameters. And honestly, given the circumstances, I think the Soniqs did extremely well. I'm excited to see what they have in store for us for the rest of stage 2.
I think the other thing with the Soniqs that was quite difficult inside of this map was the fact that the Soniqs had a lot of rounds that seemed to be won by them already, just off of the early and mid round that was being played out. They'd get these 5v3, specifically in round 1 there, and seemingly have a great amount of time to play off of that, but oftentimes it didn't translate too well to actually taking down that late round defense from SSG inside of the site, and led to quite a few unfortunate scenarios where they seemed to be the winner in the early round, but turned out not to be the case by the time we got down to the clutch in those final seconds. Either way, though, SSG come out on top of this match. We still have one more game to get to, but before we get to that, we're going to take a short break, and we'll come back with Vel and the analysts to break down this one.